We're live.
All right. Welcome everyone to your Ask the Expert. I am so excited that you can join us today. It's been one of those moments where you're just like, hey, let's do a topic that will be meaningful to as many people as possible. And so it's yours truly, Dr. G, with my goal, and it's our Ask the Expert. And I'm so thrilled that I you can join me today. I have one of my favorite people. When I say I think if you know me by now, I have a lot of favorite people. And this particular person is a speech pathologist that I have gone travel with multiple times. He's been a true colleague on the work that we do. Anytime I do certain topics, and I need to get someone to do that. He is one of those key people that I can go to. His name is Mr. Adeboyega Otubanjo, and he's a speech pathologist. And I caught him off guard when I reached out and say, "Hey, I need you to do this topic," and he agreed to do it. And of course, he's on his way somewhere, so well, unfortunately, you're going to see him presenting from his vehicle, but we know the value of this topic and how important it is. So regardless, he agreed to do it. So I'll just do a little quick intro about Mr. Otubanjo. He's a licensed speech pathologist, ASHA certified. He received his undergrad degree from the City University of New York. He has a master's in speech and language and has his own private practice in addition to really working in a school district in the state of New York. Mr. Tubanja has been really a blessing to this organization and has been a true partner in supporting our families, both here in the United States and also, of course, in Ghana, where he's provide support to our team there. So I asked him to do a topic on using technology to support learning and communication. So if you're on Facebook with us, really, and you have questions, we would love to take your questions. And those who are also wanting to join us on Zoom, we were really, really happy to have you here with us today. So Ade, it's as always very, very wonderful to have you be a part of the program today. I am just thrilled to pieces that you decided to make it a Sunday afternoon and tell me, and I say thank you for being flexible to have us with you today. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to you and have you share for us. And you have an assistant with us today who's going to advance the slides. From there we can just take it and go with that. So Ade, thank you again for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Dr. G, for that wonderful introduction. It's always a pleasure, always being available to work with you. I've known you for so many years now. We've done so many trips together, helping the children. And it's all about the children. Thank you, Dr. G. My name is Adi Otubanja. Like Dr. G was saying, I'm a speech pathologist in New York. Uh, I've been a speech pathologist now for almost about 20 years, working with children. I enjoy working with children because uh, when you see even a minor progress, it makes you feel good that you made an impact in the child's life. So today's topic is going to be using technology to support learning and communication. Next slide. Uh, so first of all, I wanted to get everybody to get us an introduction on really what does communication entails, and it comes with speech and language and hearing. What is speech and language and hearing? Next slide. So speech, language, and hearing can be divided into two parts, which is the receptive, which means the auditory and understanding, like understanding what we're being told or we're telling someone, and the person is understanding us. For instance, you're telling the person, go and put on your shoes. They understand that. You want the understanding of receptive language. And then the second part of it is the expressive language, which comes out to either speaking or communicating. When we look at expressive, a lot of the time, sometimes we only want to look at speaking, but there's always a way we express ourselves. We can express ourselves in communication by making eye contact, by nodding yes or no, by shaking our head, or by pointing using gestures like every one of us know, or by also communicating using pictures. And now with technology, now we can communicate with technology, also expressing ourselves with technology, either by texting, writing, uh, using PECs for pictures, and using all form of iPads now to type in what we want to say, and the iPad speaks on our behalf. So that's the part. And as we develop all this receptive and expressive language skills, we now tie it up to now expressing ourselves either by in single words first, and then in full sentences, either by using pictures again or by writing, depending on where the strength is of the individual. Because one of the things we have to first look at, we have to find out what is the strength of the person. Some people have more strength in maybe writing. Some people have strength maybe using pictures to communicate. And some people have strength more to verbalize what they want to do or what they want to say. And some people have strength in pointing more. So once we have the receptive and expressive together, we are able to communicate in a more appropriate ways. Next slide. So I just wanted to go over this real quick. Once a child is born, from birth to 6 months, they communicate. And a lot of the times we tend not to, really think of it as communicating, because the kid starts like making sounds from birth to 6 months because they're happy, especially to the caregiver. Whenever you're feeding the baby or you're changing the baby is excited. It's communicating, smiling, making sound. That's communication like, oh, I'm happy you're feeding me. I'm happy you're changing me. I'm happy you're carrying me. And that's why a lot of the times babies communicate again by crying when they're hungry, when they need to be changed. So communication goes a long way. And then by 6 months to 12 months, we have a lot of babies, they start to babble a lot of babbling coming in. Like some of them might start making babble sounds like ma 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 ba 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 ba. These are all ways of communicating. And some of them might have a toy like that they communicate with by banging the toy, banging blocks together. They're communicating with us. And at this age, this is all using play and other forms of techniques to get the child to communicate with us. Making eye contact when we're feeding them, making eye contact to us when we're changing them, making eye contact to us when we carry them. They're communicating with us that I like what you're doing to me. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm happy, and things like that. And then by the first year of the baby, by 12 months to 18 months, we should start seeing some words coming in, maybe a few words like bye, words that they're familiar with around their home that they hear all the time, like bye, me, mommy, daddy, and things like that, that they hear all the time within the house. So you start to get those words coming out, and then sometimes you have uh, things like jargons, which is like it has no meaning. It's just a way of them getting happy to try to tell you something. So it might be a child who jargons a lot, might say, bye, bye. So the child is trying to form words by using those jargons to communicate to us, the excitement. And then as the child gets older, by 24 months, we should start seeing two words coming out from the child like hi mom or bye mom, hungry mommy, things like that. So those type of words starts to come in. Again, these words come in from what the child is learning from us. Because as we are the caregiver or the parent or whatever role we play in the child's life, anything the child is communicating to us, they're picking it up from us. If the child is pointing, they they learn that also from us by pointing. If the child is looking at an object that they want, but they can't say it, it's something that they've learned from us. By looking at something, it means they want it, so we give it to them. Um, and then by as they get closer to 3 years old, we start seeing them forming more words like sentences. So the more we communicate with our children, the more we get more words from them, the more the vocabulary increases. Just to go back a little bit, by 12 months, if we're not, or by 6 months, if we're not seeing any sounds from any child by 6 months of age, if we're not seeing any sounds, any babbling or things like that, we want to quickly take the child and visit our pediatrician and say, listen, I'm not hearing any sound. I'm not hearing any babbling from this baby yet. Is there, should I be concerned? And most of the times when we do regular checkups with the babies as they get older in age, by 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, the pediatricians too should be asking us questions like, oh, is the baby babbling? Is the baby making sound? So that if there's a need, there should be referrals made to the appropriate clinician if there's any concern at that age that there's no sounds, there's no babbling. And most of the time, that's when we come in, the speech pathologist. So by 6 months, if the baby's not making any sounds, the doctor might say, oh, let's wait a few more months, let's wait 8 months and see, maybe there'll be changes. And the doctor might give you techniques to do at home, like play with the baby, do a lot of funny faces, try to see if the baby will laugh and imitate you, and let's check back again. So once in 8 months there's still no improvement, then they might send in a speech pathologist like me to do an assessment and see if there's anything that we can start doing in terms of the communication, so that we can start making the baby use appropriate means of communicating whatever we see that is the child's strength. Next slide. So now we want to look at what are the topics that a speech pathologist may address. Next slide. Thank you. So there's various topics we look at. We look at in general when, as a speech pathologist, when we go and assess a baby, maybe at 8 months, and we find some concern. So we might start looking at certain things like an augmentative communication device. What is that? It's simply these days now, there's so many of them now out now. When I was in school, there wasn't as many as we have now. Now we have them in the size of an iPad. So what a communication device, augmentative communication device does is that it helps the child to communicate. Once a speech pathologist assesses the child and sees that the child needs a communication device to help that child communicate, since the child is maybe nonverbal or the child has some verbal, but it's not enough, we want to get the child to a more verbal, 100% place that we like. So we might introduce a communication device, and the communication device pretty much will put a lot of pictures with words that we think the child will use on a daily basis. So, and then we also have to assess the child cognitive ability, because we want to make sure the child is able to use this device based on the child's cognitive ability, meaning that the child's understanding of the device. So we put in things that a child might need on a daily basis, which are like maybe using the bathroom, uh, food, of course, and clothes, dressing up. So whenever the child needs any of this, and after teaching the child how to use the device, so the child will point on whatever he or she needs, and it will say the word for the child, and the parent will know. Oh, okay. For instance, if the child is hungry, might press on the button that says eat, with a picture of the food there. So the child will point on that picture, and that picture will say eat. And then oh, the baby's hungry. So I need to get him or her something to eat. We also look at speech sound disorders, which means that some kids don't have some sounds. And that's very common. Some kids might not have the B sound or the P sound or the N sounds. And instead of saying cat, they might say at. So those are some areas we also look at as a speech pathology, looking at those sounds that the child does not have and see how we can work with that child to get those sounds. Because when you're not with your child every day, or those who are not familiar with the child on a daily basis might not understand that. They said the child says at, but the child meant cat. Another one we also look at is childhood apraxia of speech, whereby the child wants to say a word, but with the brain and the mouth, they're not communicating together. So either because the mouth has some articulations disorder that the child is not able to put those words together. The child knows what he wants to say, but the lips, the tongue, the teeth, which helps us say what we want to say, is not putting those words together. So we also look at that in communication disorder as a speech pathologist. Another one we also do is cochlear implant. Some childs are born deaf. So I remember when I was working in the school, I had a little girl that was born deaf on one ear, but she has hearing in another on the left side. She lost hearing on the right side. So what they did was that they did a surgery at about 6 months to give her a cochlear implant to put a device in her brain that helps her hear what we're saying to her, and then she's able to respond back. That's what where we're talking about receptive. She understands what is said through the machine, and then she's able to express, to communicate. So in those cases, the child might get a speech. Will definitely get a speech therapist to work with the child, make sure that the child is understanding what the cochlear implant is communicating to her, and she's able to express it verbally. So we work with children with cochlear implant. Another area we do is selective mute. Like for instance, I have another little girl in my school. She talks at home, the mother said, but when she gets to school, she doesn't say a word. So it was so funny that we couldn't believe it. So the mom showed us a video of her talking at home, but at school, she doesn't say anything. She would just sit down and be quiet. And the teacher would ask her a question, she would just point to it. And this was a little girl who was in first grade. So this is an area whereby you see the child being selective. She wants to talk at home. Maybe she's more familiar with the people at home, but in school, maybe she's tend to be a lot shy, and she feels like by her talking, people might laugh at her. Maybe she has some words that are not very clear in her vocabulary. So then she just chooses not to talk at all. So this is what another area we look at as a speech pathologist to try to help the child to communicate. And we can also use things like a communication device to help her. If she's not wanting to talk in the school, we can start that up in the school, like we're using a device to help her. And then as soon as she gets more comfortable, we might gradually take away the communication device and let her start talking or communicating by writing. It's not just verbally alone. We look at every area, like I was saying, we look at what the strength of that child is and then build up on that. Another area that the speech pathology looks at is the traumatic brain injury. A lot of people have brain injury to due to trauma in the brain. And the right side of the brain controls emotion, the left side of the brain controls language. So if any part of this brain is affected by a trauma, it could affect the way the person is communicating. So we look at that. And then another one is the right hemisphere brain damage, like stroke. When people have stroke, uh, I remember I worked with an individual, it was an adult, he had a stroke at 40 years old. Now, this person now talks like a little child because the speech is no more there, the communication is no more there. Anytime he tries to communicate, it's not coming out. So another thing we can look at for that individual is look at means of using a communication device or technology to assist that person to now communicate due to the stroke. Early literacy, which we start early. The earlier the better we help a child, the more we can get a good result. That's why it's very important for early intervention. Once a child is 6 months to 8 months and we're not getting any sounds, we're not getting any eye contact, we're not getting any jargons or anything from the child, we need to get the child into early intervention to try to get some form of communication going with that child. It doesn't have to be verbally, everything doesn't have to be verbally. We just have to look at it. Means of having that child communicate, either by pointing, using pictures, or using a technology, a communication device. Another area we look at is stuttering. A lot of some children have stuttering due to genetic or due to hereditary. Some boys, because their father or grandfather was a stutterer, they might end up stuttering too. And some people just develop stuttering because they were shy, they don't want to talk in front of a large crowd, and then they develop that stuttering. So that's another area we look at to help them to get them more clearer in their speech. Another area we look at is feeding and swallowing. A lot of the children at a young age, they might prefer certain food of certain texture that is soft. They don't want to eat hard food, or they might prefer a food that is only white. They only want food that is white. They don't want anything mixed with that food. So if they're having a spaghetti, they don't want any sauce on the spaghetti. So we also help in that area to expose the child to more food and to more chewable things. Again, hearing loss in children, I touch on that when the child has a hearing loss. It could be in both ears or it could be in one ear. So we work with that child to develop means of hearing using either a cochlear implant or some child might just get a hearing aid. Nowadays, they have so many types of hearing aids. You have a hearing aid that they put in your ear so that you can hear what is being said to you. And some of them have remote controls now. You can increase the volume, you can reduce the volume. So there's a lot of technology out there for hearing aid. And also language delay and disorder, meaning that they're not able to use full language to express themselves. Like, I want juice, mommy, uh, to express themselves in the full language, full syntax, full words, full sentences. Um, and then we have the central auditory processing, which is an area whereby when you're talking to someone and they're not processing what you're saying, and or they might
Then we can't hear you.
said was,
Okay, go for it.
oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Oh, so you might tell somebody, oh, get your shoes and put it on. So the last thing they heard from you was put it on. They didn't process the entire command. So that's auditory process. So some children they don't process, or some adults they don't process the information in full. So in that way, you have to break it down. You have to break the command down in steps, or you have them repeat back what you told them. So you know that they're processing what you just said to them. And of course, the other one has to do with autism. Um, well, a lot of the time, if a child is diagnosed with autism or an individual with autism, the most important thing we have to do first is the communication. The communication plays a role. We have to see if there's communication. If there's communication, we build on it. If there's no communication, either verbally, then we also have to look for the strength of the child. Is the child able to use pictures? Is the child able to use writing? So we build on whatever means we know the child is able to communicate, because communication is very important. Because if we want something and we're not able to express what we want in any way or shape, it leads to more other behaviors. And that's why we'll see in schools, we'll say, oh, John is always hitting himself. John is always throwing himself on the floor. John is always biting. He's trying to communicate something, but nobody knows what he's trying to say or she's trying to say. So that's why it's very important to look for means of helping a child, whoever the individual is, to communicate their needs and wants. Next slide. So what is normal development of speech? Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. So we look at imitation. A lot of the time, if someone is not imitating, someone who's learning communication is not imitating us, then we want to also speak to our pediatrician, because, like I said in the beginning, everything a child is learning from the home environment. So once we say good morning to each other, you can start seeing a child start saying good morning. If a child see you in the morning, takes a toothbrush, the child knows that it's time to brush his teeth. So all this is a form of imitation that children learn from us adults, and that's why it's very important that imitation plays a role in a child's life. Next slide. So we want to look at the different levels of imitation. The one from birth to 4 months, the child starts to imitate whatever we're doing, taking turns, brushing our teeth, taking things, feeding, eating, and those things, they come naturally as the child sees us. And also from 4 to 6 months, certain things like maybe waving, smiling, all those kind of things, the child are imitating what we do and they try to do it back. That's why we see some children by certain age, they start waving bye-bye because they see us in the house. When somebody comes to visit us, we say bye, and the child still learn from us. Sometimes the child might not wave the right way, they might wave turning their hand facing them and waving. So we have to teach them like your hand goes outwards to say bye to someone. So all these things is the natural imitation that comes with growing up. Spontaneous. By 6 to 10 months, this just becomes natural that certain things the child has been observing from birth to 10 months becomes natural to the child. The child knows that when somebody comes to the house, you say bye when they're leaving. When you're going outside, the child sees you picking up your shoes, putting it on. So the child knows that, oh, we might be going outside now. It's time for me to put on the shoes. So all this becomes spontaneous. It just happens natural. And also by 10 to 14 months, all those things become these spontaneous imitation becomes more matured. It becomes more advanced. You see more matured imitation taking place in various areas of the child's life. Either the way you eat, the child sees that you eat with a spoon. When you're having a cereal, instead of picking up a knife, the child knows that, oh, I need to pick up a spoon. Is or our imitation is becoming more matured now. Thank you. Next slide. So, what are some successful therapy ideas for promoting communication and speech? So, let's look at that. Thank you. Any successful intervention should be incorporating the parents and incorporating them with family training. So if the therapist is seeing a child, the parents has to be involved because if the parent is not involved and the parent is not trained, the therapist might just see the child for like maybe an hour a week or 2 hours a week. After that, we have our children more than the therapist. So we need to do a carryover of what was done. So we need to continue what the therapist has been doing. If we don't do that, then we're going to see that progress, not very rapid like we want, but very slow. So that's why it's very important to always get the parents involved with the therapist and whatever they're doing, in every way they are trying to help the child communicate. If they're using PECs, the parents needs to be trained on how to use PECs. Because if you only train the child and when the therapist is not there, the parent does not know. So the parents will be like, I'm still getting a lot of behavior when Johnny wants to communicate. I don't know what to do, how to get him to communicate. So it's very important that the parents is very involved in whatever we're doing. Next slide. So we always recommend that family training is very important in a child's life with the parent because this is very important in the intervention we're planning. Even siblings, like I remember the other day I went to do an assessment with a child. The child was 28 months, and the child had a sibling who was 10 years old. So she was helping me. So she was like, oh, my sister can make a cow sound. So she goes, oh, what sound does a cow make? And the baby goes, moo. So things like that, we have to get the siblings involved to help us. We have to get the parents, we have to train everybody in the household because we work as a team. And when we work as a team, we collaborate together, we get good results. Rather than we saying, oh, okay, is the therapist's job. I'm the parent. I don't need to get involved. Let the therapist do what they're paid for. No, we all work together as a team. It's very important for the child's progress. Uh, Next slide. Thank you. So, parent training. Parent training helps a lot. It supports the child in so many ways. And the parents needs to get involved in what goals they want for the child. Because some of us might want a goal whereby the child is able to just communicate. One of the goals might be, I want my child to be able to communicate his or her wants so that the behavior can be reduced. And that's a very important goal because a lot of the time, like I was saying in the beginning, if there's no communication, the behavior is always high because the child might want a simple thing as a bottle of water and cannot express it. There will be a lot of behavior just to get that bottle of water. But if the parents is being trained and the parent also is involved in the goals that we want that child to achieve, it plays a big role because the goal is very important. Whatever goals we want, we know our child better. So we know our children better. So we want to be a part of that goal writing, whatever that goal is for that child, if it's to socialize more, if it's to learn how to communicate with less behavior, whatever the goal is, we need to be very involved in the goal writing of that child so we can get a good progress and be satisfied with what we get. Next slide. Oh, we can skip this. That's good. Sorry. Skip this. So, sorry, what are we willing to do to promote a successful therapy? So we need to focus on that what are we willing to do? We're willing to go any length to do whatever we can to make sure this therapy we're getting for our child is meaningful. And that's why I started off as that we have to focus definitely on the child's strength. A lot of us sometimes we tend to look at more at verbal. Oh, I want the child to speak. I want the child to speak. I want to say. The child might have other strength in other areas. So we want to look at that. The child might have strength in writing. We want to look at that. The child might have strength in using pictures. We want to look at that. The child is communicating. The child might have strength in pointing. We want to look at that and build from that strength in using that. I remember a little boy, I can never forget it. I worked with this boy 20 years ago. He was in a wheelchair. He had cerebral palsy, so he couldn't use his hand very well. He couldn't use his leg very well. But there was one thing uh, he could use very well, his head. So we now came up with the idea of using a communication device, putting like a sticker on his forehead, an infrared it was called. So he uses that sticker to move the mouse on the computer or on the device to communicate. So anytime he wants something like he wants to eat, he will type eat using his head. So we looked at the child's strength and we built from that to help him to communicate because he was nonverbal and he was a happy boy. Anytime we did something for him, either you give him a food to eat, he was so happy. He would say thank you by shaking his head because he's able to communicate a lot with his head and he gives you that big smile and shaking his head like thank you, thank you. So this was his strength and we built on it. Even though he was nonverbal, he was communicating in some way and we all understood him eventually. Thank you. Next slide. So if the answer is yes, then here are some suggestions we have to do in therapy. Thank you. Next slide. Like, like I was saying, picture exchange. We need to look at the child's strength. Is the child able to use picture exchange to communicate? Then yes, let's use it. Let's build on it and use those pictures to for that child to communicate. And again, when I say PECS, what is PECS? So PECS is the picture exchange of communication system. So this is a means of teaching a child that, okay, we're going to be using pictures to give you whatever you want. If you give me a picture of bathroom, that means you want to go to the bathroom. If you give me a picture of water, that means you want water. If you give me a picture of a shirt, that means you want to put on a shirt. If you give me a picture of a sweater, that means you're cold. You need a sweater. You need something. But we have to teach the child how to use these communication means. Because if you don't teach the person's just going to be giving you all random pictures. And you're going to be like, wait, what do you really want? You gave me like 10 pictures. Do you want all 10 things? No, because we did not teach the child how to use the PECS, the communication device, the communication system, rather. Thank you. Next slide. So for instance, a child, a child uses the picture for a single word, e.g., the student sees a cat and it points to the picture of a cat. That means it's telling you, oh, I just saw a cat. This is what I saw, cat. And then as a mother, you say, yeah, I just saw a cat walk past the house. Yes. So this is teaching the child by pointing to the picture or giving us the pictures to communicate. And that child may be nonverbal, but trust me, they will use these pictures to express all their needs, all their communication very well. So far, we are teaching them on a daily basis. And as they use this picture to communicate, we can also expand on the picture now, saying, oh, you see a cat? Oh, I see a cat. Going to expanding the words. like I see cat, like not just showing us a picture like see cat. So we can have a picture of I and see, and then tie it together with the cat. Say I see cat, and the child is using that means to communicate to us, like I see cat. Because once the child just shows us a picture of a cat, they're saying, "Oh, what about the cat? Oh, you saw a cat? Oh yeah, I saw a cat. Oh, what does the sound? What sound does a cat make? Meow." So things like that. Some child are able to imitate the sounds of a cat or sounds of various animals. But that's because they learned that from us also. Because we can say, oh, what sound does a cat make? Meow. You teach the child that. The child carries over all the time. Anytime they see a cat, they might say, I see a cat that makes the sound meow outside. Things like that. Next slide. Thank you. For instance, again, we teach them the picture of a water. We know that every time the child sees the picture of a bottle of water, they want water. That means they want water. So we let them exchange that with us. You give me a picture of a bottle of water. I know you want to drink water. You're thirsty, especially in the summer when it gets very hot. Some children who are not able to communicate, they might be very thirsty, and because they're very thirsty, will lead to behaviors that will be wondering why is this child during the summer always more engaged in more behavior. It's because they're very thirsty, and we know ourselves that in the summer we get very thirsty, so we need to drink a lot of water. Thank you. Next slide. So like I was saying, we'll build the words with the picture. So we have I want, so we have the child now start tying the words with the picture. So you teach them how to use I want, and then you put it together with a picture of a water. So the child will now is now increasing their vocabulary using the pictures, using the text that we've taught them. So I want water. So now the child is growing up using full sentence to request things rather than just saying water and giving you the picture of a water. So from a text, we can teach so many things to a child that is nonverbal. And even child that are verbal, that are not able to express certain things very well, we can still use the text to also teach them, even though they're verbal, and we use the text to combine it with their verbal to expand their vocabulary. Next slide. So just like I was saying too with the cat, oh, what do you see? I see cat. You show them the picture because everything with children is visual. When they see what they're teaching them, it helps them a lot better. When they get a lot of visual, it's good. They're able to understand more rather than you just saying cat. The child might not know what a cat looks like, but say, oh, what's a cat? But once they see the visual, the picture of a cat, then they know it's a cat. So using visual to teach our children is very important whether they're verbal or non-verbal, visual does helps a lot. Thank you. So like I was saying also, I see cat, similar to I want water. What do you see? I see a cat. You're building that vocabulary. You're now expanding the child's vocabulary to express to you in a full sentence, whether they're verbal or non-verbal. But we're using the text, the picture exchange, to increase their vocabulary. Thank you. Next slide. So without spending so much money, because sometimes we always go on Amazon, we go on to the store and try to buy packs to wherever we can find it. There's so many things we can do at home. We can create our own packs, and it's as simple as sorry, next slide. It's as simple as us just getting scissors, papers, and getting pictures and glue. So what we want to do is we know what our children want on a daily basis. So we get those pictures of those things, either the kind of food they like. If they like pizza, we get pictures of pizza. If they like water, we get pictures of water. If they like a juice, you get pictures of juice. If you want them to know that it's time to brush their teeth, you get a picture of someone brushing their teeth. You can even take a picture of the child brushing his teeth and laminate it or stick it on a cardboard. And you say, John, what time is it now? It's time to brush our teeth. You teach the child that every time before he goes to bed, he has to give you a picture of what he wants to do, either brush his teeth or take a bath or eat, whatever the case might be. So we can create these on our own. We can take pictures of our family members because the child is more familiar with us. So we can take a picture of ourselves brushing our teeth. We can take a picture of ourselves eating, and you can take a picture of the child eating so that when the child wants to eat, he show you a picture of himself eating. That means he's hungry. Some basic therapy ideas. Next slide. It's always good not just to have our child just sit in one spot. Always engage them in play. Children learn through play. It's always a way to stimulate their voices. They make a lot of noise when they're playing and having fun. They scream, they yell. You see the smile in their face. They're happy. So it's always good to always engage them in any form of movement, either within the house or outside the house. Take them to the park, but make sure you're within their eyesight. Let them go on the slide, let them go on the swing, let them run around. It's always good to get them out of the home environment because this helps them, increases their sounds, their vocabulary, their words. They see other people outside, they see other things on the street, they see a car, they see a taxi, they see a bus, they see a train. All this is increasing their knowledge, their understanding, their receptive, and their expressive, and their vocalization. Next slide. So all the simple toys, anything that makes sound is always good. Even if we're not getting any sound from any child, it's always good to use all these things that are in the picture here because this thing generates sound. And when the child uses this and it makes sound, the child tries to imitate. Like I was saying, imitating is one of the best things of helping the child because the child hears you say, "Oh, oh," the child might want to say, "Oh, oh, oh," or things like that. Any form of vocalization or any form of sound that the child is hearing, it goes a long way. We might play music, we might play favorite music. It helps the child. Anything, just make sure the child is learning is something that the child is learning from. We might not get something back that meaning, but later on, I've heard parents who will tell me, I play certain music, and later on, I'm hearing all kinds of sound coming out. It might not be the same sound from the music, but the child is now vocalizing something, making all kinds of sounds. Thank you. Next slide. So simple things like teaching body parts could be Mr. Potato Head. Teaching a child that this is your eyes, this is your nose. You use your nose to smell, you use your eyes to see. All this thing is very important. Even using the mirror. You're in front of a mirror, you say, "Oh, look, I'm brushing your teeth. Oh, look, mommy's touching your eyes, daddy's touching your eyes, I'm touching your ears so you can hear." All these things is very important. We keep teaching the child, even if the child is not saying it back to us. It's a form of play and it's a form of interacting with our children. Next slide. Also, we can use simple toys like animal toys because some of these animal puzzles, they have sounds. Like we're talking about, what sound does a cat make? So if you put a cat on that puzzle, it might make meow. If you put a horse there, it might make yeah. It might make those sounds. Those kids, every day, the child is learning all these sounds by playing with all these toys. And picture books. Picture is always good. Visual helps a long way. It helps the child a lot because the child can see what we're saying and match it. Also, with the puzzle, you're able to match the picture with the where the puzzle pieces should go to. Next slide. And also, it's always important. Kids, they love bubbles. Children, they love bubbles. They love when you blow bubbles to them. They try to pop it. And you can use this to teach anything like doing the sign of more. Once you blow bubbles, you stop, you hold back, you don't blow another one. You say, "What do you want?" Even if the child is nonverbal, the child might make the sign after teaching the sign that, "Oh, this is the sign to say I want more." Or the child might now even say more by him or herself because you've been teaching the child that anytime you like something and you want more of it, you use a way to communicate. And you might even use a picture, a picture card for more, and say, "Okay, I blow you the first bubble. I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to blow the second one. What do you want?" The child might now give you a picture of more, and then you blow more. Thank you. Next slide. Also, food. It's always good to use pictures of food that you know your child likes every day. So if the child likes pizza, that's one of his favorite food, you add that to the picture exchange. Make sure that's one of the pictures that you're going to be teaching the child, like, "Oh, pizza? What do you want? Give me what you want. Give me a picture of what you want." Gives you a picture of a pizza, you give him the pizza. Next, thank you. And always colors. You teach them colors by what they wear every day. It's so funny. Our children, we have so many things in the house that we can use. Today, it's putting on a red socks. Say, "Hey, listen, I'm putting on a red socks on your feet. Oh, we can't find the other pair. Oh, you have two red socks. No, they match. If you put on a blue socks and a red sock, do they match? No, they don't match. So this way you're teaching them that. You're teaching them colors. And sometimes our children might pick up the socks they want you to put on them because that's their favorite color. So around the house, the clothes we wear, the socks we put on, the pants we put on, we can use it to teach them colors. Next slide. And also cars, like I was saying, when we take them out a lot to the playground, to the park, we're going out to visit family and friends. We can label things as we pass them on the road. We can label a car, we can label a boat, we can label a train, we can label a bus, all those things. Even if they're not responding to us, we're showing it to them. And trust me, they are absorbing all this information, but they might not say it or they might not express it. They might not communicate it to us at that time. Another time, you go out with them again, the child will just point, and you'll be like, oh, what is he pointing to? Oh, you like the train? You're pointing to the train? That's it. They learn. They've learned from the time you were teaching them what a train looks like, what an airplane looks like. Thank you. Next slide. And now we have so many technologies that we can use to communicate these days with our children. We have the communication device. Like I was saying, that device, you can put in all kinds of information on it. When the child touches what they want, it will tell it eat. And from that, you can even increase their vocabulary by typing in, I want to eat. So as they get familiar with the device, you start increasing their teaching with the device. You can start out with single words, single pictures that they just touch anytime they're hungry, eat with the device, and the device will say it for them what they want. Even the iPad now, you can put in all kinds of apps on the iPad that talks back what the child types in it. There's so many things you can, even our phone, just our cell phone. Sometimes our children knows how to use our cell phone more than we that bought the phone because they're able to teach themselves how to get into any apps they want, teach themselves to get onto YouTube, teach themselves to learn their favorite songs, ABC rhymes, and things like that that they enjoy listening to. Next slide. So there's so many communication uh, things we can use these days. We can use, like I was saying, the speech device that generates the word for us. We can use our cell phone also. Our cell phone, we can download all kinds of apps there to help the child. Make sure we're always downloading things on the cell phone that we know the child can learn from, not just things that we enjoy. Um, Emails, a child who enjoys typing can email you back and forth and tell you what they want. Instagram now, messages, everybody knows how to use Instagram. A lot of people can communicate through that means even though they're non-verbal, they're able to communicate. FaceTime, some children love FaceTiming their parents and they smile at the parent, they just want to see their face, they're happy, they make funny faces. I have a boy who loves calling his mom, even at work on FaceTime. He might have nothing to say, but he just enjoys seeing the mom, knowing that the mom is present. She went out, she left home, but she's at work. He's able to communicate with her through FaceTime. TikTok, so many things are being done on TikTok now that are geared towards education. Facebook, so many things can be done on Facebook too to communicate. And apps, of course, there are tons of apps out there that we can use to communicate with our children. There's apps on how to sequence. There are apps on reading. Kids that wants to read. There's the various types of apps for appropriate age level. There's apps that helps them learn how to just write with their fingers, like learning to trace out a letter or trace out a full sentence. So there's so many apps out there. Next slide. So technology has played a big role, especially during COVID. A lot of us was home and we're using the technology to work with our children. One of the ones that I enjoy much is my first word. They touch what they want, he says it. He has a list of things there. He has action, he has body parts, he has clothing items, he has food items. That's my first word. So the child is able to use technology to learn all those things. My first word, my first songs. He has different songs in there that a child might enjoy, like ABC song, body part song, the wheels on the bus, all kinds of songs that a child might enjoy and is appropriate for their age. Starfall is another good app. It teaches all kinds of things. It teaches the letter sounds, and then it teaches the letters that forms a word to form a word, and then it forms a phrase, and it forms a sentence. So that's a very good one. Another good one is autism, emotions. A lot of the times, the child wants to tell you, today I'm feeling sad. So you want the child to point you, how are you feeling today? The child will say, happy. Might point to the picture of somebody being happy, and it will say, happy. Or the child might say, sad. Why are you sad? Because I want to go outside. Things like that. The child will communicate to that. Or sad because I have a tummy ache. Might point to his tummy. Sentence maker. It teaches the child how to form sentences. Solo flex. This is one that is very good for kids that are nonverbal. They have that communication devices. It puts the pictures in there, and then with the word. So every time they touch the picture, it says the word. So if they touch the picture of somebody eating, they want to eat. If they touch the picture of the bathroom, they want to go to the bathroom. So that's a very good one. Sentences. This one also teaches sentences. Reading comprehension. For kids who are a little bit advanced, but they're nonverbal, they're able to read and answer questions there, simple and age-level questions on reading comprehension. And I sequence, it teaches them how things happens in order. Oh, you brush your teeth first in the morning, then you take a bath, then you put on your clothes, then we go outside. So this teaches children sequence, what they have to do on a daily basis. The other one is oral model exercises. Some of our children, because of their oral models, kind of like a little bit delayed. So they have exercises we can do for that, like blowing exercise, which is very good to produce sounds. Um, Next slide. And thank you everyone for listening. If you have any questions and concerns, I hope I was able to inform you enough with a lot of information.
Yeah, Ade, thank you so much for that. This was excellent. Um,
Thank
I,
you.
I was wondering, I have a hand up already. You did a fantastic job and you made me realize, in as much as I thought the topic was going to be technology, you made it clear that we can never eliminate the basics because the basics is really crucial. So thank you for reminding us that where a lot of us go towards technology, there is a lot of natural tools around us that we should be using beyond just, going on the screen time. I see that Lilia, you have your hand up. You want to ask your question?
Hi, everyone. How you doing? Thank you
Good
for the
evening.
presentation. It's amazing. I have a few questions about my daughter. She was born with Down syndrome. Also is autistic. And I noticed for many years that she eats her food separately, like what you mentioned, like she would not eat a spaghetti with meatballs. And I didn't know what's related to that. Also, you mentioned about brain injury when she was
Yeah.
little. She she fell a few times from the
Oh,
stairs.
sorry.
Um, yeah, so but I never put it together with her speech. And now that I move out of state, I mean, there's not many services in Utah. From New Jersey, you get more resources and things
Yeah.
like that. So I just got medical insurance
Oh, good.
and trying to look for a speech therapist. When I get there and do the assignment, what should I request or bring down all those points that you mentioned about the brain um,
Okay.
injury and also the food. She's not biting her, well, not chewing her food. She just swallow her food.
Okay. Yeah. So how old is she? Sorry, mom.
She's 17.
Okay. So when she had those falls, did they ever do a CAT scan of the brain to see if there was no damage done
No.
when she fell? Okay. So one of the things I would recommend is if you can, let them do a CAT scan of the brain just to make sure everything is okay. And then in regards to chewing, you want to get for the meantime, since you can get before you can get a therapist, you want to get something that can be chewable but not too hard, like eggs. So when if the egg is white, you can boil it. She might like that. Try to put it on the side of the mouth so that way she's biting down on it, so that instead of her just swallowing. So you might want to do little bite first to put on the side of the mouth. Um, Another way to help her with the chewing also is that you want to get something that she might like that is chewable. Maybe she likes
Celery.
crackers.
She likes
Sorry?
celery.
Yeah.
Celery.
So good. So you want to put that on the side of the mouth first and let her bite down on it before you give it to her to eat. So always try to do the side of the mouth so that she can know that she has to bite down on the food to try to improve that chewing abilities. And once you get a speech therapist, tell them definitely you want them to work on the chewing and bring them to the knowledge of the brain issue that, this is what happened, and try to get that scan. But in the meantime, before you get that, use a lot of pictures with her so that anything she's learning with you, she can see it because the visual will also help her. And try to do a lot of chewing food that she likes, like celery, like you said. If she likes, there's some gummies. Some kids like gummies, fruity gummies. You just put it on the side of the muzzle. That way they're soft and they can bite down on it and things
Well,
like
I
that.
have an issue with that because as a typical teenager, she will not like that when I say, "Oh, can we just please make more chewing on the side?" She say no, and anybody in the family say that to her, she dislike that so much.
Yeah. So what you want to do with feeding is that whenever you want to do something with her, you also have to do it.
Mhm,
If you want her to eat, you eat with her. So
mhm.
children love when we eat with them. If we just give them their own food and walk away, they might not eat. But if we're all eating together, and with feeding is a play thing. You play with her. Look, mommy's gonna feed you, and then mommy feed herself. Things like that. You're playful about the food. And then also make sure that she's hungry when you feed her so that you eat together. Always eat with her. Don't let her eat separately. Because when she sees you eating, she'll be curious that, oh, why is mommy enjoying this food? Maybe I should try it too.
And when it's two different therapies, speech pathologist and feeding therapy, or it's all the same?
Oh, that's a very good question. The thing is that we're all the same, but you see, some speech therapists don't like to do feeding because they say, they don't like it because they sometimes they're worried that the child might choke, and some people don't feel comfortable doing it, but other people feel comfortable doing it. So what you want to do is, I suggest that you get a speech therapist that also do feeding. So if that
Mhm.
speech therapist said, "Oh, I don't do feeding," then you might want to look at, okay, should I start with that person first till I get somebody that also do speech and then feed it?
Mm. Okay, that's great. I really love your presentation because as a AVA technician, that's what we use a lot, what you just teach,
Thank you.
especially for the little ones. It's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mom. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions that people have? So, Ade, I have one more question for you. There's been a huge concern about kids and screen time, right? So they're using phones and screens. What is the balancing act? Because you talked about the use of the PEGs a lot, and now the PEGs can also be incorporated through phones. How do you balance decreasing the screen time so it doesn't affect them cognitively?
Thank you. That's a very excellent question. I think this will go with based on home to home. There's some home they don't even want screen time a lot because one thing about screen time is that there's no communication between individual and individual. So I think personally, if you're going to use screen time, you have to put a time limit on it because you want that interaction. Because I could sit on a screen and don't talk to anybody for 4 hours. I could be on Facebook for 4 hours and don't talk to anybody else. And so until somebody comes around and take the phone from me, I'm like, you've been on that Facebook for 4 hours. You didn't even communicate with me. So it's a very dicey situation. So I think for anyone who's a parent, it has to be really reduced drastically because if you want that interaction with the child, you have to reduce it. In fact, screen time should be like a reward. Okay, if we do this together, I'll let you use it for like 30 minutes and then we go back to what we're doing. I think we should use it as a reward for the child.
Right. So if they're using it as communication, thinking about using other tools beyond,
Exactly.
okay, because
Yeah.
that's
So if it Thank you, Dr. G. So if it's used as a as a means of communication, let's go to the basic stuff like picture exchange. Let's use that because that is very important because now the child is interacting with you more on an eye-to-eye contact because we have some children who are not making eye contact. And if they're on the screen time, they're just looking at the screen, they're not looking at us. So in order for us to increase their eye contact with us, we want to engage in that picture exchange with them. Say, oh, this is a picture. You want to put the picture by your eye so that the child can look up rather than look down. So with a screen time, the child is just going to be on the screen, looking at the screen. So thank you, Dr. G. It's good to put it together with the basics PEX exchange, the screen time.
I just love how you just did the illustration of even the picture and how high it is on your hand.
Thank
Because one of the concerns I've had parents say about the PEGS, which is the picture exchange communication system, is they're concerned that the child will not speak because then they become dependent on the picture for the communication. So can you speak to why it's necessary to engage through the PEGs, but it's not the only tool?
Yeah. So the PEX is very important because if you want the child to speak and the child is able to speak, so not just letting the child hand over the picture to you, you want the child to imitate you. You get, like we were saying before, is a picture of a cat. I see cat. What do you see? Can you tell me what you see? And let the child put the picture of the cat at the eye level and let the child able to see the way you're pronouncing the word cat from the picture. So the child looks up and say, oh, you just said cat. Let me try to say the child might not say it very clearly like you did, but you try to have the child say something. Even if you say cat, you say, yeah, good job. Now let's try to say it again. So you try to emphasize that word, but making sure that you're making that eye contact. You don't want to teach the child to say the word while the child is behind you or beside you. You want the child to be in front of you, seeing the way your facial expression is, your mouth is moving, all your facial expression. So the child learns that, oh, mommy said cat. So I have to emphasize that word because I have some parents, they'll sit with the child is on their side, and then on the side of the and they're teaching the word cat, but the child is not actually saying the pronunciation of your face, your words, the way you're pronouncing the words.
That's excellent. No, this has been very, very, very informative. Obviously, we can almost do a whole session on just how do you use the PECs to communicate, right? Because you went through it pretty quickly, but the point about even
Exactly.
where you're sitting when you're doing it, I've never thought about it. Can you comment about, you use the illustration about children a lot. Are there adults or even, young adults who are so nonverbal, are these tools that you shared also pertinent to them? Could that still be utilized?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. G. Very important. Yeah, absolutely. This is good for all ages. Like I was also saying before, although I didn't go deep into it, I worked with an adult who was 40 years old. He had a stroke. So now we have to use the pictures to try to teach the adult the words because of the stroke, he was not able to pronounce any more words. This was somebody who was working in construction before the stroke and had the stroke, and now is not able to say any word. So it's very important to use that picture, and that's how we use the picture to teach him the words we want him to say, and to teach him because this individual at one point couldn't even say the name of his daughters anymore. So we had to use the pictures of his daughters to tie it with their name to help him produce those words. And everything has to be in an eye-to-eye contact because now the individual is learning like a child, due to the stroke. So anyone who's nonverbal, we have to take it like baby steps, go back to the basics to try to use the picture to tie it with the words so that they can see with our imitation to see how to say what we want them to say on that picture.
All right, excellent. Are there any other questions? Okay, so somebody said, don't forget about Alexa. We used to use it in the past, or I guess even Siri, like Alexa
Oh
and
yeah, thank you. That's true.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So I
The
guess
Alexa could tell us everything now. Yeah.
right.
Yes.
So The use of technology is also an excellent way. Could you comment about, somebody said they had a question, so I'm waiting for that question. Could you comment about the use of social stories? I know that's more of the ABA folks, but can you do social stories as tools for communication?
Yeah, that's very important because social stories help with the social skills. So the more we do that, it increases the child's social interaction. So, and it's very important because we don't want that child just to be with us alone. We want that child to be able to socialize with other people, to be able to interact with other people. So that's why it's very important and to teach the child about social stories and how to socialize in various levels, no matter what the communication is. So we have to be able to tie the social story with the method of the way the child is communicating, which will be a lot of visual, a lot of text, a lot of gesturing, and a lot of interaction.
Right, excellent. Wow, this has been great. Any last minute questions, Ade? I've taken your huge Sunday afternoon.
It's okay.
I hope that, yeah, someone here says their child is 27 with Down syndrome, no verbal abilities, and she says something wrong, doesn't want to repeat it. I don't understand. How can I help her? Okay, so she has Down syndrome, nonverbal. And I guess I'm trying to say she says something when she says something wrong, doesn't want to repeat it. I don't understand her. So I
Oh,
guess the question is, are we, is the person is nonverbal? I don't know, iPhone. Can you ask your question directly, please? I'm trying to understand it. I couldn't understand it fully.
Hello, yeah, I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
tried to explain it better, but I didn't have that much time to do it. So my daughter is 27. She has Down syndrome,
okay.
and she was able to speak before when she was younger. Now she doesn't. She's like quiet all the time. Even it's like she doesn't know how to say a word. So when she says something, I ask her again to repeat that word because I couldn't understand her, and she's
Yeah.
just quiet. She doesn't want to do it. And I think that not being able to communicate is affecting her emotionally. So I don't know how to help her. And also, we speak two languages here at home, Spanish and English, but because she was here her whole life. She went to school. Everybody, speaks English here. So her English language is more than the Spanish. So I don't know if
Okay.
also that is affecting her. I don't know. I'm sorry. I have many questions. I'm trying to do the ones that I see now.
No, it's okay, mom.
Ade, you're muted.
Two languages. What I just want to know is that does she have? She's able to verbalize. She has words, right? But it's just that the words sometimes they're not clear, right, mom?
She does, yeah, and she speaks really when you ask her, okay, say this word. She does it really, really good. It's
Good.
just. Mhm.
So thank you, Mo. Sometimes children can be, or adults can be shy because when they say something and the person does not understand, they might feel shy to repeat it again. It's just like me, for instance. I have an accent. Sometimes I might say something and somebody might say, "Oh, I don't understand what you mean." It might get me shy, like, "Oh, am I not speaking properly or something?" So, and we all have accent based on where we come from, and there's nothing wrong with having an accent. So the thing I would say, if she's the type that gets shy a lot, is she able to write?
Yes, she is.
So if she says something, mom, and you don't understand what she say, you can tell her, "Hey, please, can you write it for me?" Just don't make it look like you're not happy with her. We always make it fun for her. Because another thing is that once somebody sees you like too serious, like listen, I'm just saying this, that I'm not saying that's what if somebody tells me now, like, oh, you said water, I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying water or milk? Be more clear. If somebody gives me that impression, I might not want to talk again. I'll just say, never mind, I'll go to somebody else. But if we do it in a more nice way, funny way, I say, hey, let me get a paper and write, okay, and let's write together. Let's write what we're saying together. So she writes to you, oh, I meant milk. And then you can write back, oh, lovely, I'll get you milk. Things like that. Try to see if you can explore that area of her writing. If at some point she says something you don't understand. And also, if you have any visual that you can use with her, like the pictures I was saying, like the pecs, if you have pictures of certain things that she likes, if you can create it, if it's not going to be too much, you can create it. So if she says something and you don't understand what you say, you can bring the book out. You make a book of certain pictures of things that she like, and you say, "Hey, wait, is this what you're talking about? Oh, wow, is this what you want?" Things like that. Try to make it fun for her so that she doesn't just shut down and don't talk anymore.
All right, excellent.
Did that help? No?
I think it did.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it helped a lot. And I will try to do that. Yeah, you're so right. It's just, we as parents, we need, I mean, we don't know how to do it and we don't have ideas, but you gave me a great one. I really appreciate all your information. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Mom. Thank you.
Yeah, so this has been fantastic. See, I told you he's one of my favorite people, and he's doing it from his car, y'all. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ade. Thank you, Ade, for a fantastic
Oh,
presentation.
anytime.
But this will be made available on our YouTube. So for those who want to obviously learn more, send us their email. You have additional questions for Ade, you can send it to info@mygoalinc.org, or complete a survey that we just posted in the Zoom room, but you can email info@mygoalinc.org, and we'll get it over to Ade to get an answer for you. Our goal here is to continue to be a resource to families. You're not on this journey by yourself. We exist to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities throughout their lifespan. So whether you're a child, that individual is a child or not, we know that they can do that. So we have some upcoming events that our program assistant, Nife, is going to comment on. So Nife, you want to just quickly, I think it's still trying to go in it. So you can just mention it and then we can.
Yes, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much for coming and sharing all of your knowledge. So we have a lot going on this month and next month, actually. So we have Social Hour Live, March 22nd at 9. It'll be at Panera Bread in Edison. I put the link in the chat to register. Let us know you're coming. Just come, we'll eat breakfast together, talk, connect with one another. It's just a really great way to be a part of the community. And then we have Empowerment Moment with Dr. G. And we have a special guest, Sherry Castellano, on March 27th at 7 p.m. Obviously, we know Dr. G, amazing, amazing. And then we have our guest, Sherry, who, very, very big. She is a leading expert in peer support she has tons of experience, over 25 years of experience. She also founded Volunteer, which is a nonprofit which aids survivors of trauma. So she's just gonna come, her and Dr. G, empower us, encourage us. So it's gonna be a great time, and you really do not want to miss this one. It's gonna be super special, super good. And then we have our Bowl-a-thon. Yes, the flyer trying to not pop up. Bowl-a-thon is April 27th at 2 p.m. Information is on the website, but I will send the link in the chat. Register, select your team, and all come together, just come out to raise money and awareness for individuals with autism and other intellectual disabilities. And all of the money that is raised from the Bowl-a-thon is going to go straight to the grant, which is currently open and will be open until April 30th. So if you know anybody in New Jersey who might be in need of any grant or any money to do ABA therapy, literally anything in relation to a child with autism, literally just send them this and tell them to apply. So that's everything we have going on in the next 2 months. Of course, we have the email info@mygoalinc.org. If you have any questions, you can send them right there. And like we said before, if you fill out this survey, we are going to send you the slides from today.
Excellent. Nifik, wonderful job doing that. We also have our intern, she's quite not current intern, but she's an occupational therapy student who's doing her doctoral program with us, Noelle. So Noelle, I'm going to put you on a hot seat. Next month, she's going to be a part of sharing some information with us. So looking forward to sharing more information. So that was one of the ones that not shared. I just put her on a hot seat. She's like, what? You didn't tell me about that. I just made it public, so we'll do it. But I want to say thank you again for Ade. This really, it went over time a bit, but it was fantastic. I know people are going to be watching it later and taking some ideas from it. And I think the take-home message for everyone is communicate, communicate, communicate. And communication is more than just verbal. It
Thank
includes
you.
nonverbal communication as well too, and the use of technology, including even your phone and talking and your socks and matching socks and all that good stuff that he shared today. So I want to say thank you. And thank you, Lourdes, for helping us advance the slides. We want to say have a fantastic evening, everyone, and see you physically for our, social hour live, or please, like Nifa said, we have the upcoming Bowling for Autism event is how we raise money to support the programs we do. And we couldn't do that without you. So it's going to be here in New Jersey, in Woodbridge area. So it's Central Jersey. Yes, Central Jersey does exist. So we want you to be a part of that. You can find out more information on our website, mygolink.org. If you want to donate, support, sponsor, we're looking for sponsors, actually. So we look forward to that. So once again, we want to say thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic evening. God bless. Bye-bye. Thanks,
Bye,
Anne.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.